remember to like and share and subscribe.
What's up, Broncos country, and welcome to another episode of Keep Your Eye on the Ball, your YouTube channel dedicated to all things Denver Bronco football. From me, Adam. Just a couple housekeeping notes. I am going to be changing up the format of the show a little bit. Instead of giving you one long 15-minute episode, I'll be breaking it down into smaller chunks for you, for lack of a better word. So instead of having one 12-minute episode every couple of weeks, I'll be giving you one solid week every other week of maybe 2 to 3 episodes. So that way it makes it a little easier to view, and it makes it basically I can drive content with it, because right now we are in a desert of football news known as the summer. So as always, I will be giving you current events, and I'll be going over the most important news that happened with the team recently. And I'll be starting my summer series, which is Intro into Training Camp. Essentially, I'll be going over each position group, going over who I think the most prominent players will be, who I think the team may be looking to improve, and maybe cut and release and maybe sign some guys, and also give you my thoughts on who could be a sleeper from each group going into the 2024 season. As always, remember to like, remember to share, remember to subscribe, remember to buy me presents, and as always, let's jump into the episode. So as I mentioned before, the first part of the show will always be current events. And we have 2 pieces of news to bring you this week. The first is Courtland Sutton and his situation heading into training camp. Now, it was a welcome sight seeing Sutton at weekend minicamp a couple weeks ago. It was a bit of a concern when, during his press conference time, he did indicate that it was not 100% guaranteed that he would be showing up to training camp. What does this mean? I'm going to tell you right now, I think it is a little bit odd that he would indicate that he would be at one organized team activity, but wouldn't be, or I wouldn't even say wouldn't be. He doesn't know for sure if will be participating in training camp. I have a hard time believing that, that Sutton has a whole lot of leverage in this. He's on the last year of his deal. Most of the guaranteed money is being paid out. He doesn't have any leverage to really force the team's hand in any other direction other than to let him sit. So I don't know that him throwing out ultimatums like this really helps him, and I don't know how the team would really react to it too. Everybody has indicated, from George Payton on to Sean Payton, that Courtland's in a good place, that lines of communication are open, and there's no acrimony going on. So that's good. However, I don't know where Courtland's end game is in all this, from all the things I've mentioned before. And I don't know why he would lob an ultimatum like that out there if he wasn't serious about going through with it. But I also don't know how that helps him if he actually does go through with it. So in a previous episode, I said that I had a very low percentage of him not showing up to training camp. And I do think that that ticks up the box a little bit. So instead of being like 70-30, him holding out in the training camp, I would now put it maybe 60-40. He still doesn't, but that percentage does go up a little bit. And it's a little bit of a concern when one of your best players is not making threats, but putting himself out there that he's willing to take drastic actions in order to get what he wants from the team. I like Courtland Sutton, but at the same time, I can also see where maybe Sean Payton and the front office isn't as gung-ho at wanting them to give him any more guaranteed money until they see a more consistent product from him. Yes, I do know that he is probably our best receiver. Yes, I do know that he was one of the league leaders in touchdown catches last year. But also, when you factor in his other production and you factor in his age and injury history, I just don't know. I don't know. It's become a much murkier situation with his comments. And also, let's also keep in mind, Sean Payton inherited Courtland Sutton, and we don't know that maybe Sutton fits into what Sean Payton sees for the offense going forward. So like I said, it's I think a very stable situation, but it also has the capacity to be a very problematic one, especially if Sutton doesn't show up for training camp. The other bit of Broncos news that came out this week is that the team made an interesting front office move and hired former Stanford football coach David Shaw as a senior front office executive role. Now, what's important to note is that Shaw, while being the head coach at Stanford, was very successful in a place that isn't known for having a lot of football success. He did preside over probably two of the best players to ever come out of Stanford, in Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey. He is the only 4-time winner coach of the year in the Pac-12, and he had winning seasons in his first 8 seasons. Again, he did a lot at Stanford. And despite being rumored to be jumping to the NFL almost every year that he was at the school, he never did. Now, he has been out of coaching since he resigned a few years ago. And he did interview for the Broncos job a bit ago, and so it's odd that he didn't get the job, but he also was offered a front office position. Now, here's where it gets confusing. That this is a front office hire, so this would be George Paton's hire. And while George is the general manager, it's Sean Payton who reports to the Pinners. And it's already a very weird dynamic, having your GM reports to the coach that reports to the owner. So I'm not sure, and maybe in adding some more eyeballs to the front office, I could see where maybe that helps, you know, George Paton. At the same time, he's a football coach, and I know he wants to get back into coaching. So he wants to be more on the field, Shaw that is. And I don't know that that necessarily helps Payton, and he's not being hired in that capacity to help Sean Payton. So I'm of two minds of the hire. One, if you could add more talent evaluators to your front office, that's always a good thing. And I do think that hiring Shaw helps in that, because like I said, at Stanford, he routinely brought in talent. Where my confusion is that he wasn't hired for any kind of on the field role. He was hired specifically for the front office. So I don't know how this gets him back into coaching circles. I don't know how that gets his name out as far as recognition if he wants to apply for jobs next year. I just don't know. I also don't know if it's a ceremonial position, because he does have ties to the current ownership group, most notably Condoleezza Rice, who they did share time together at Stanford. So I can't say that it's a bad move, but I also can't say that it's a great move. If anything, it could have an impact maybe a couple years down the line, and maybe they're keeping him on staff to maybe segue him into Sean Payton's staff. I don't know. Sean Payton and Shaw also have time together at Philadelphia when they were still assistants. So all in all, it's kind of a confusing move. I'm not giving an indication one way or the other what I think about this. I think it's just a wait and see, and let's see how it turns out. So essentially, part 1 of the episode is done. I'll be recording later on this week to bring you part 2, which includes my intro to training camp series. As always, thank you so much for all your support. I truly appreciate all the new followers, all the new subscribers, all the comments, likes, and if you leave me a comment, I promise I will respond to it. So, as always, keep your eye on the ball, and I'll talk to you next time. We also got news this week that the Denver Broncos made a front office move and hired former Stanford head coach, I can't think of his name, David Shaw,